Today is the day and I will be running down a 1993 psychological thriller film titled The Vanishing. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead of this video, so chill out and enjoy it as I narrate it for you. The film opens with a man named Barney, a high school chemistry teacher, riding to his second house at the beach to conduct an experiment and plan the kidnapping of a girl he's obsessed with. The twisted man started by spraying the chloroform on a piece of cloth, then inhaled it with a timer in his hands before he passed out. Barney was happy with the outcome when he regained consciousness. After 37 minutes of the victim's unconsciousness, it will be enough for him to take the kidnapped girl to his home and do whatever pleases him. In the backyard of his house, he started practicing the approach of luring the girl into his car. Not everything is easy for him for the first time, however, he eventually perfects his technique so that if the kidnapped girl sits in the car, she will not have a chance to escape his trap. Later in the evening, Barney heads straight to the bus stop to pick up his daughter, Danny's. She suspected that her father had fallen in love with another woman since he's constantly missing at home, even when her mother needs him. Barney doesn't stop practicing his plan of kidnapping, even when he is with his daughter. He decides to drive Denise to the lake house to assist him with the house renovation. Barney spotted the spiders and had an idea to keep them for future use. Once the work was finished, Barney told his daughter to open the picnic basket if she was hungry. Denise screamed in terror when she realized she had uncovered the spiders in the picnic basket. It turns out it's part of his strategy as well, because Barney wanted to test whether his neighbor could hear the girl screaming, but he couldn't hear anything last night. That afternoon, Barney drove to town to lure his victim into the trap. He asked one beauty for a post office address and offered a lift to her as a compliment. However, she declined his offer. Barney's pulse is excessively rapid, but he needs to maintain his composure and trap his subjects without being suspected. The pulse eventually dropped from 180 to 95 hits per minute after trying several times. Barney's wife, Helen, also suspects her husband of having an affair with another woman. That's why he barely comes back home. From Barney's mouth, he just makes house renovations at the lake, which always keeps him busy. He assures her that he will come back home after he has finished the house. A young couple named Jeff and Diane are driving back from Canada, where they had gone for vacation. Their vehicle ran out of gas in the middle of the tunnel as they were still driving and almost collided with the fast-moving trailer. Then Jeff decided to foot back to the gas station and left Diane alone in the car, as she's taking a lot of time searching for the flashlight. A few moments later, Jeff returned to the vehicle, but his wife had already disappeared. Lucky enough, Diane was sitting close by due to the fact that the tunnel was too scary for her. Diane cried in the car as Jeff asked for forgiveness because he took full responsibility for what he had just done. Barney uses plaster casts as a new method to gain public sympathy. Moreover, it is convenient to conceal a chloroform bottle inside before entering the store at the gas station. Diane asks Jeff to pull over at the gas station to take some refreshments, and she demands his promise that he won't ever abandon her again. She then removed the key from the ignition and walked to the store. Barney follows and watches Diane intently as she enters the bathrooms. A few minutes later, Jeff feels Diane has taken a lot of time and is running out of patience, so he decides to fetch her. Diane wasn't in the restroom when he checked. He even showed the cashier Diane's picture, who informed him that she last saw her half an hour ago standing by the lotto machine. Jeff instantly decided to inform the authorities. However, the police officer told Jeff that he would only be filing his wife's missing report after 24 hours and advised him that he should go home. 3 years have passed since Diane vanished, but Jeff is still determined to find out what happened to her. He still publishes and posts flyers all over the town, as well as visiting TV stations. When Jeff decided to go to the restaurant for coffee one evening while inebriated, Rita, the waitress, recognized him from high school. He showed her Diane's picture to see if she had any information. However, Rita doesn't know the girl since the incident happened 60 miles away from their restaurant. Jeff flipped the milk-filled glass over, and because of this Rita insisted that he spend the night at the motel rather than getting behind the wheels when he was drunk. Rita then placed Jeff in her bed as she slept in the couch. The following day, Jeff claims to Rita that he was a copywriter and lost his job, but he is working on an article and is only waiting for the publisher's approval. Jeff gets Rita's cell phone number, and now the movie time passes. Jeff decided to stop his grief and marry Rita, and he doesn't want to discuss Diane's case anymore. That same evening, Rita discovered Jeff's loaded gun, which Jeff claimed he had purchased for self-defense. She demanded to get rid of it because she didn't want to surround herself with guns. Jeff accepted before making an appointment with the publisher over the phone. Sadly, the book isn't right for them. Rather, they suggested that he write a book detailing the experiences he went through after the disappearance of his wife. Jeff initially didn't like it because he wanted to put the memories behind him, but eventually concurred because he had to pay the bills. Jeff returned to the quest without informing his new wife about the assignment. Jeff had to join the Army Reserves only to get more access to Diane's disappearance files. The following morning, Jeff was featured on the television show, as Barney and his daughter were also watching the interview. Jeff expressed his desire to meet the person who kidnapped Diane, only to learn what transpired and to know if she's still alive. He's ready to do anything he can ask for to take him to her. Jeff also offers security assurance because he doesn't hate him. Rita grows interested in reading Jeff's writings on the computer. However, she can't access the document since the folder is password protected. Following that, Rita explored every possibility that included her name but still got the same results. Then she got Jeff's vanished wife's name, and the word vanished in correspondence. It turns out that this word was a password and she eventually cracked it. Rita discovered Jeff's letter to Diane's obsession, explaining something he can't stop until he finds her. She then finds Jeff's revised command post address. In a panic, Rita drives to find Jeff at the motel and shows up in front of him, dressed in a dark wig to look like Diane to satisfy his obsession. Rita reprimands Jeff for lying to her and treating her like trash, because flyers and newspaper clippings hang from his entire room. Now Jeff has the choice to choose his love interest between his vanished wife and her because Rita swears to walk away from his side and will never trace her back. Jeff grows apologetic when he discovers that Rita cracked his computer password, and she knows everything. Jeff acknowledges that ignorance is plaguing him and has decided to put Diane's case behind him to continue their lives. They moved outside, gave her a hug, and promised to stay together. That evening, all of the newspaper clippings and flyers were burned. One afternoon, Barney was walking across the street and couldn't find Diane's new flyers on the walls, and without delay, he wrote to Jeff and extended an offer to meet him with his name signed on it. Barney, in his house across the street, is critically observing Jeff and Rita's movements at the restaurant. Rita insisted and advised Jeff to report to the police instead of wasting their time meeting him. However, Jeff is strongly eager to meet this individual one-on-one, citing that the police would just laugh at him, calling him delusional and fixated. Angrily, Rita walks out of him when she learns Jeff has not changed his obsession with Diane and says goodbye to him. Rita ran to the apartment to pack her belongings, but she's not aware that Barney followed her, sneakily entered the apartment, and intends to douse her with drugs. Rita penned a message to Jeff and recorded it on the answering machine, saying that she was leaving him and that she would never come back again. Though Barney was ready to do it, after hearing this message, he decided to abandon his plans. Jeff rushed back to the apartment to meet Rita, but she had already left the apartment with her belongings. Just then, Barney emerged from his cover and introduced himself to Jeff as his wife's kidnapper, displaying the keys that Diane had removed from the ignition the day she disappeared. Jeff jumped on Barney and smacked him down before demanding answers from him. Jeff's neighbor, Carmichael, watches everything from her balcony as Barney refuses to talk. The maniac smiles and warns Jeff that if he kills him now, he will never know the truth, and there's only one way he could find her. Jeff must sit in his car and drive with him to the house. After a little thought, Jeff agreed to ride with him in hopes of meeting Diana's lovely wife. Later, in the pub, Rita took a sip and desired to hear herself on Jeff's answering machine. However, she gets surprised when she hears Barney's voice asking Jeff for a meeting. Rita now understood that Jeff was vulnerable and may have been taken hostage. Infatuated Barney intends to reveal everything to Jeff that transpired on the day he kidnapped his wife, but before, he has to listen attentively to his story because sometimes the devil is in the details. Barney describes the day he was on vacation with his family. Denise spotted a young girl drowning, and he instinctively dove into the water to save her. At that point, his daughter saw him as a Superman who could save the entire world. But Barney asked himself about his ability to do evil in addition to good. He tells Jeff that Diane was an experiment because he had to prove to himself beyond doubt that he was as capable of evil as he was of heroism. The officer ordered them to pull over because of the taillight, but Barney warns Jeff that if he says anything to him, he will never know what happened to his wife. Rita immediately called the police to Jeff's apartment, but the police officer informed her that there was nothing criminal indicated on the tape and that Jeff's search would only be made after 24 hours. Rita goes to Jeff's neighbor to see if she can get information about what transpired. Carmichael discloses that Jeff had a fight with a man named Barney. She provided Rita with Barney's license plate. Then she ran to the police station and reported her vehicle as stolen. Rita eventually discovered Barney's address and last name. Barney reveals to Jeff what happened on the day he kidnapped Diane. He had planned to kidnap several girls, but he was unsuccessful with his methods, which dawned him and made him believe he was weaker rather than stronger than he thought. So he decided to give up on his evil plans and threw the plastic casts in the trash. However, Diane herself came up to him and requested his assistance in trading the coupons at the lotto machine. That was when she admired his hand bracelet and wished to offer it to Jeff as a gift. He told Diane that he was the only French-designed bracelet salesperson in the region and convinced her to come to his car to make a purchase that only cost $2. Barney urged Diane to give him a hand by sitting in his car. Though Diane was initially cautious, she relaxed and straightened herself when she saw Barney's family picture. Barney doused Diane with chloroform until she passed out, then drove her away immediately. Barney pulls over at the same gas station where he kidnapped Diane 3 years ago. Rita runs to retrieve Jeff's gun and drives to Barney's residence, where he meets his daughter. Denise believes that this is her father's new mistress. Rita learns that Denise's father is at the lake house, but she swears to provide Rita with directions only if she gives her a lift to meet her boyfriend, which Rita agrees upon. In order to find out what happened to Diane, Jeff must drink the drug coffee and experience what Diane went through. Barney doesn't even require a firearm. He uses Jeff's obsession as his weapon because he's like an alibalatory rat to him. He definitely sipped the coffee and passed out. Jeff wakes up in the casket buried alive under the surface, and starts to scream for help. Rita dropped Denise off at her boyfriend at the park and proceeded to the lake house. Rita finally arrives at the house, but she finds out that the gun is missing from its case before Barney attacks her from the back. Rita uses the case to hit him before running into the woods to conceal herself. When Barney finds and attacks her again, she uses the wood to defend herself and runs into the house, calling Jeff's name, but there is no sign of him. Rita uses the phone in the house to call the police for rescue. But she started to lose consciousness and stagger until she fell to the ground. Barney came back into the house looking for her. Rita fought him off before running to her car to start the engine. Sadly, the vehicle got stuck in the mud and couldn't escape. Barney entered the car to douse her with chloroform. Luckily, Rita used a cigarette lighter to burn his hand since the chemicals are flammable. Despite being battered, Barney jumped on Rita and took her back to the house. He made her sit down on the chair and informed her that Jeff had a choice to make. Barney intends to subject Rita to the same drug coffee experience. Rita spotted a shoe with mud on it and believed that this depraved man had buried Jeff, which meant Diane shared the same fate. Rita informs Barney that she has his daughter as a hostage, and she intends to trade her for Jeff's life. Barney was in disbelief until Rita told him every secret about his daughter and their address number. Barney quickly made a call to Helen, only to report that their Denise was missing and she had no idea where to find her. Barney must drink the drug coffee as well if he needs to find out where Dennis is. That's Rita's condition. Ultimately, he drank from his cup, and Rita walked out to find Jeff as Barney went unconscious. Rita dug off the fresh soil to save her lover, and he was already unconscious when she opened the casket. However, Barney emerged behind her back and beat her to the ground. Jeff awakens from his comatose condition and helps beat Barney off Rita before killing him for good. Jeff hugs his wife and notices another grave in the grasslands, which means the twisted man also buried Diane alive 3 years prior. Moments later, Jeff met with the publisher who will publish Jeff's novel because it has a very interesting storyline. Jeff and Rita refuse to drink coffee because of their horrific experiences. This brings the movie to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more of my videos. Have a good day.